Goldylocks Productions broadcasts universal cosmic frequencies that unlock, awaken, and expand the consciousness of our worldwide viewers and listeners.
Goldylocks Productions presents the Live from Little Bear Sanctuary show with Christopher Vane. Enjoy topics such as the vegan lifestyle, sanctuary media highlights, and spotlighting new rescues.
Happy Friday, friends. Welcome to Live from Little Bear Sanctuary. I'm your host, Chris Vane. And a couple announcements today. As some of you know, we lost a really special pig yesterday. His name was Wilbur. And if you've been following him on social media, you guys know that he wasn't the healthiest boy. He had a lot of health issues, and he came with a severe back leg injury, which we also think was a tumor. He never got to the point where we could sedate him to do a lot of testing. So we all decided to make his life as comfortable as possible and give him a great life here at the sanctuary. He passed away yesterday morning, laying in the sunshine, and he was surrounded by his little piggy friends. He was special to all of us here. It was a tough one for us. It was a tough one. If you're just tuning in, say hello. Got a very special guest today. I'm going to bring her on in a minute. If this is your first time, you guys actually physically have to sign into YouTube if you want to interact with us. And a couple more announcements on the happier side. America's Next Top Model is in full swing. We have 61 pets that entered this year. Really, really cute pictures. Head over to pranarun.org and you can vote for your favorite poodles. It ends this Sunday. There's some cuties. I know I'm voting for a few. And also we have our yearly auction at the same time. So that's also, if you go to pranarun.org, you can access the auction. Hi, Jennifer. Good morning. Great auction items. I'm going to cheat. I'm bringing up the auction right now. There's I know I have a few bids in on some stuff. There's our little picture right there. We actually have quite a few pigs who entered the contest this year. On our auction, we got 62 items, from jewelry to soap to candles, paintings, one-of-a-kind paintings. We have a couple of luxury hotel stays, great deals, T-shirts, what else do we got? Rings, bags, everything's vegan. New Leaf Naturals, they actually came in last minute yesterday for some pet CBD oil for your fur kids, and if you guys use it, you know they're expensive. It's like $180 for a bottle. Bid starting at $20. So we got some really great bargains. I hope you guys check it out. Sorry, guys, my throat. Everything ends this Sunday, I think at midnight. Let me double check that. Yeah, I think it's midnight this Sunday. So again, vote for your favorite poodle. Check out that auction. Have some fun bidding. Outbid some people. Have some fun. And what else can I tell you guys? That's the short list for today. I am going to bring on today's guest. She is a very special friend of mine. Hi, Camille. Camille Reyes. I'm gonna cheat and read your bio like I do for everybody.
Please do.
Camille is the founder of Las Vegas Animal Save, and she's the current live-in caretaker at Forget Me Not Sanctuary in Las Vegas. Sorry, guys, my throat. She's also the social media and volunteer coordinator for All Friends Animal Sanctuary in Las Vegas. And she spends her days caring for the rescued individuals living their lives free from exploitation. Camille decided to dedicate herself to the farmed animal rescue and the sanctuary life, from being able to rescue and still care for chickens saved from slaughter from the local Las Vegas slaughterhouses. I know that's a tough one, Camille. When she's not caring directly for animals, she's helping coordinate animal rescue and sanctuary support projects for the Animal Save Movement's Animal Rescue Working Group, and making vegan burritos with fellow activists for the houseless community in the Las Vegas area, and planning another future event for the animals, as the work is never done. Ain't that for sure?
That's
the work is never done, right, sweetie? The work is never done. Welcome to my show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited that you could open the space for me.
Yeah, awesome. So we got a lot to cover.
Let's get it done.
Tell me about your journey to veganism. When did it start? How old were you? Tell me a little bit about that story. Tell our viewers a little bit about it.
When, where, how, and why? Well,
when, where, how, and why.
So my vegan journey, if you will, it's been an ongoing one for the last 7 years. It was 2013 when I was already a vegetarian, and I was pretty content with that. But it was not until, and I kid you not, there was two incidences. There was an email I received from PETA on behalf of a local dolphin advocacy group. I'm going to go ahead and plug them. They're a friends group of mine, Free the Mojave Dolphins from Las Vegas. Because since I want to say 1989, there have been dolphins who are held captive at the Mirage Hotel and Casino on the Las Vegas Strip in a pseudo-tropical paradise, who are exploited for entertainment. And this is something that, I've obviously learned within this time period. So it's a special cost to me, if you will, because it was my first introduction into activism. So it was this incident that I associate with veganism, in addition to around the same time I was taking a Communications 101 class. And we were asked to write an essay on something we love. And I chose cheese. I did. I chose cheese. I racked my brain. And at the time once again, this was 2013. I just turned 29 this year. So I was in my early 20s and clearly had no other hobbies or interests, so I chose cheese to write about with passion, and which led me to doing actual research, and which I had never really done before. And it was because of this actual research and my cross-referencing that I learned what happens in the factory farm dairy industry, but more so, it's not even just factory farming; it's the nature of how we view animals. So it's like I was cross-referencing a couple things. It was, obviously PETA and this information about how we get milk and how it's made and what happens, of course, to the veal calves. But it was also what happens to the females in this cycle of violence and destruction that their mothers would have to go through before them. So that being said, I had this epiphany. And I quickly changed my topic for that class. And these two crossroads happened to happen within the same period of time, which led me to first associate veganism with activism, and to be as cliche as I can be, and to be short from the words, to go vegan.
Yeah. And
since then, because of this experience and because of associating veganism with activism, because from that email I did not just read the email and say this is terrible and then move on. I went to this protest, my very first one, in 2013, and it was extremely nerve-wracking. Not everyone was vegan, but regardless, it was being within this space where there are people trying to advocate, especially in a city like Las Vegas, where we are a tourist-based city and people will just walk by. But nonetheless, what I've learned is that there's always people willing to listen, and I wanted to align with that as well, because if you view yourself, and I view myself, as being open, then I would have to demonstrate that more than say it, if that explains my journey.
Yeah, Absolutely. That's pretty amazing. I remember we met on Instagram in 2015. Can you believe it? It's been 5 years. And
Oh man.
we were little, we had our little personal Instagram accounts where we'd all have a lot of fun, and times have changed.
You remember how we met? Like the first comment.
I don't remember the first comment. What was it?
Okay. So I commented on your page, and it was about a pro-adoption, like being pro-adoption, adopt, don't shop.
Yep.
And to this day, it still rings true. I commented saying, well, I've never adopted any animals. My family, like ever since I was a child and to this point, we've always picked up strays.
Okay. Yeah.
We've always picked up stray animals, and that's how we've made them part of our families. And to this day, that's still true. And I think you followed me after that, and that, this beautiful friendship began. So
yeah, it's been we've come a long way in 5 years. What a difference, right?
I mean, you have a full-blown sanctuary. I mean,
I do. Crazy, right?
One of the few people who said they were going to do that. It's amazing.
Yeah, I remember. It was right at that time in my life that I had my midlife crisis decisions, and here I am with 160.
I think it worked out.
And it worked out really well.
I think it worked out for so many.
It's true. So let's talk about rescues, especially in the farm animal community, and strange even in Vegas, the farm animals, there's Absolutely. Every state has their slaughterhouses and their wet markets and their vigils, and I know you do a lot of that activist stuff that I have not yet done. I kind of feel like my gift here is, staying here and rescuing the animals, and I think about the vigils because I know how hard that must be. Tell us about your first vigil. What was that like? What do you have to do to prepare yourself mentally for that, and also post a vigil or bearing witness? How do you take care of your mental health? So give me the skinny on that.
So I would like to start with, if you, especially coming from like the sanctuary life and you being surrounded by these animals, it would be so much more difficult for you to be at these places. I will tell you that right now. And I tell everyone, even, those of us who've been bearing witness for years, who know the routines, who know what to see, who know what to expect. What I also tell new people, and this is, I'm not getting off topic, just to address this real quick, is that it does not get any easier if you see them as individuals, and it won't. That is a reality we have to contend with. But as far as my first vigil, that was in 2017. It was actually with Chino Cow Save in Chino, California. That particular action, we did not see a truck, but it was, nonetheless standing in solidarity with signs, brochures, advocating at this place of exploitation. The group has done a lot of amazing work since then. They bear witness at a farm. I don't know if you're familiar. They call it the Trash Farm. It's in Ontario, California. I believe it's a dairy farm, and it's called Trash Farm because of the amount of garbage that it surrounds it. It's like little garbage around these animals that they eat. So we did not see, that's something I did not see at that time. So it was more of a protest just because there was no truck. But the next night, my partner and I attended an LA Animal Save vigil. So my very first one was at Farmer John's Slaughterhouse in Vernon, California, bearing witness to baby pigs up for slaughter. And all I can really say is that it's a bit of an isolating feeling when you're bearing witness, especially for the first time. At least for me, it was. You're surrounded by all these people, to different degrees of experience around you, and if it's your first time, all you can see is this monumental you see everything. It's a visceral experience to this day, but more so when it is your first time. You take into account the sounds, the smells that you've never encountered before, and more than often, animals you've never encountered before. Because despite advocacy as vegans and vegan activists, many of us still don't have a relationship or connection with these farmed animals. We'll get into why it's important to support sanctuaries later, I'm sure, but it was something I will always remember. I'm trying to remember my first time if I gave the pigs water, but of course at these vigils there are always people who are giving them water. So even if you are not, there's always backup. There's always people there for them. And what I can say is that I've bore witness to the pigs. I've been to the cow vigils in LA, and it was at a time where I guess the trucks don't usually stop. They see the cows in the holding pen on the other side of the wall quite clearly. Yeah. But it just so happened to be an instance a couple years ago where there were a couple trucks and they did stop momentarily. And, it's a different experience for different animals, because you see these baby pigs and they're giant babies, so dog-like. And the cows, they were, if I'm remembering correctly, which I believe that's what this slaughterhouse in Pico Rivera does, these cows were castrated male cows. They've castrated bulls. And they were just, you spend time with cows. They're giant dogs as well. They're giant babies. And so when you see this, you see that it's a conflict in your own logic, because these animals are so big. And you think, how can us as humans possibly overpower, but that doesn't really align with logic when you start saying it out loud, because if you understand the industry, if you understand that humans will exploit, and that animals are simply at our mercy, then you come to the understanding that everything that you see is possible, legal, and what you don't see more so is what you should be concerned about. In Las Vegas, we bear witness to chickens and ducks. There's two small slaughterhouses here. They're owned by the same people. Once again, they are small and nothing like, factory farmed operations, nothing like Farmer John. And of course, chickens have the least amount of rights, which is, it's weird to say because they don't have rights as a whole. But if you do delve into these restrictions for treatment of animals in animal agriculture, you see the specifications of vertebrate animals and the allowances they technically get for having more sentience, more ability to feel than chickens and ducks do. But the chickens and ducks are a different kind of terror and nightmare than the cows and the pigs, because they're small and they're babies, and more than the cows and the pigs, they try to run. And I'm sure you have experience with roosters. Hens are flock animals, so they tend to stay with the flock, but roosters,
sure,
the hardest to rehome, they try to run. So they're different degrees of terror, if that makes sense, because of these animal individuals themselves, and then all the different particularities that may come with the slaughterhouses themselves, or what's happening that day to particular individuals within the cages. So like I mentioned, regardless of species, like if you view them as individuals, it never gets easier. So as far as being like structurally and as an organizer, I relay as much information as I can, not necessarily personal stories I told, but about what we expect to see before vigils, and reminding them of our code of conduct, because it is always too easy to get caught up in our emotions. I'm getting choked up now just talking about it, and we want to exercise these emotions, yell at the slaughterhouse workers, yell at the driver, yell at anyone who doesn't agree with us. And it's, I've gotten myself into situations where I have I have followed that and I've exercised that. I mean, it's easy to, because what you're seeing, your brain cannot make sense of it if you believe in these ethics and you follow these morals of not taking from others what doesn't belong to you, and that what happens to animals having the right to their own bodies. But in the end, that doesn't shut down the slaughterhouses. In the end, that doesn't cause the workers to get different work. At the slaughterhouses in Vegas, we've been here for 2 years bearing witness in Vigils, and it's been a journey. In 2018, we were having animals surrendered to us, and we got as many out as we could. And, eventually that did stop as we persisted. And it was a decision that we knew was going to come, because we knew that this wasn't going to keep happening. But I believe in strategy. So it's a matter of knowing your territory and knowing that you're going to a place where you're never welcome, and that you are often not going to be given these freedoms that you think you rightfully deserve. And while you're thinking about these things, while your own rights and whatever may be taken into consideration, in front of you is a truck full of these animals who don't even have the option to have the thoughts that you're thinking of now at all. So it's just this constant perspective shift and reminder of how much work we still have to do, and Vigils just being one part of this overall work. So that is probably one of course the biggest things, especially when people don't understand that this is normal. What we see these slaughterhouses is normal. The chickens come 9 to 10 hours from California. I'm going to go ahead and say this because I tell everyone they come from Mary's Chicken. Mary's Chicken is sold in Whole Foods. They're sold in natural grocers. They're sold as humanely raised, organic fed. If you go to the Mary's Chicken website, it portrays a family business. And while the chickens that we see, they don't go to Whole Foods themselves. It's a special deal that the owner of the slaughterhouses has with Mary's. But these animals, the idea of humanely raised, humanely slaughtered, of organically fed, as if that makes it better, when they end up on the same trucks and in the same places as anyone else would. And even so, arguably, if these animals had these great lives as these pictures show, which, I mean, if you look at the requirements for what free range means, it's just a giant shed with a couple of windows of, right, animals, cannibalizing each other. It really, once again, puts into perspective how much the consumer does not know, and also makes you think, well, how much do they want to know if yeah, it's a couple of things. I went on a little bit of a rant there, but
no, it's okay. It's okay. We've all been lied to more than most of us know. I mean, you know it, I know it. But yeah, that whole organically fed, free range, all those words, the truth behind it is truly a horror show.
And it's something that's purposefully kept hidden, as on top of everything else. And you asked about mental health and self-care.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
So, like everything else, as I finished my rant, burnout is something burnout and vicarious trauma. Burnout being, I think it's somewhat self-explanatory, but of course, it's just this constant feeling of being overwhelmed and at your having reached your breaking point and still going through the motions and pushing forward. Of course, people who are burnt out, you can tell they are not as patient as they maybe would be in compassionate situations. And if, I recognize that happening in Vigils, or if that's happening, in particularly this space, it's a sign to step back. It's a sign to take a moment to reevaluate. So I mentioned doing briefings before vigils and explain the code of conduct. We do debriefings after vigils, where, I once again always tell people that never gets easier, not being a little rain cloud, but of course it's this reminder that we want to encourage people to keep coming back to these slaughterhouses, to be here for these animals, but a word of warning to take care of yourselves, to please take the rest of the day to do something for you, because if you are not well, you cannot effectively advocate for them, and that is a slight to them. That is not representing them properly. So we have to take care of ourselves, and it is easier said than done. One of the ways that I always suggest to, especially people who bear witness, if anybody from Vegas is watching this, I do prioritize the vigil attendees for sanctuary visits, sanctuary tours, volunteer work, spending time with happy rescued animals. Yeah. And, I spend all my days, as you, with happy rescued animals. But even then, when I go to the vigils and I see the chicken individuals and I look into their eyes, I see the rescues. There's no difference. So even then, it kind of messes with my head a little bit, just because of, I'm probably a little bit burnt out. But regardless, it's something that we do need to recognize and attend to, because if we are not attending to ourselves and our needs, doing something for 10 minutes, an hour, whatever time you have a day that is not work, that is not this horrible reminder of suffering in the world, please do it. If it's just sitting quietly staring at the wall, please do it. If it's reading a chapter of a book, if it's going for a walk in the park, if it's just walking outside of your house, your apartment, wherever you're living, and walking down the street, anything at all, despite what, as long as it's, healthy and supportive of your mental health, not just anything at all. But and anyone who's, may judge that, if somebody does something silly or, whatever they do to unwind, I would say just do it anyway. If it's, it's this idea of self-care, I think, is often misconstrued. And for those of us, even those of us like myself who, work and we work and we work and, we accept the suffering, it seems like it's selfish. And I think that's a very toxic perspective, and I'm calling myself out on it. But like I said, it's easier said than done. Yeah. So my personal self-care is food, spending time with these rescued animals, and spending time with friends and family who, more often than not, do understand this perspective and have those who have attended vigils, those who are active within the community, and also those who maybe are not as. I spend time with both parties because it provides these different perspectives. And it's something other than what causes you this stress. So
yeah, well said. Sorry, I know it's never easy. It's never going to get easy. I think a lot of people don't understand the importance of showing up to these events and bearing witness and vigils and, being a voice for these animals. But thank you for sharing all that. I know how hard it is. I don't think I could do it. Yeah.
I think you'd find it very difficult. Like, not coming from this setting and going in is different. And then like me, I, am now a caretaker, but, I wasn't when I started bearing witness. I've done rescue before, sure. But coming from a sanctuary setting is,
yeah, it would. I mean, just looking at the pictures, I know doesn't even do it justice. But I've seen the videos. I've seen, I know what the inside of a slaughterhouse looks like. I know what those animals go through. It's another thing, like you said, when you're there in person and you smell the smells and you hear the sounds and you look into their eyes, and pigs hold a really special place in my heart, and they are on the top of the most abused animals in a farm setting. So yeah, I thank you for doing that. I commend you. I'm proud of you. I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I'm thankful for everyone here in Vegas and everyone who bears witness, because otherwise it would just be me and Richie
Yeah,
at these
absolutely.
slaughterhouses. So teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Teamwork. It takes a village. It definitely takes a village. I remember when you first started your activism at the Mirage with the Dolphins, and I've been to Vegas a few times, and they had way back when I went. The two guys were still doing their tiger show, and a lot of these big hotels have like massive aquariums, mini zoos. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, I guess Vegas is all about exploitation and sin and indulgence. And I remember when you told me about dolphins being in the desert. It's something I don't think many people think about. I didn't even know there was a dolphin show in Las Vegas, and it still goes on, correct?
It is still operating. I don't know if it's currently open and operating, but there's a lot of stuff that's opened up within the last few weeks.
The dolphins are there.
The dolphins are there. No, the dolphins are there. The aquarium was actually prided as like a world-renowned aquarium because, as we know, once again, like these agencies oversee each other. So it's like some agency that's provides the caption for "No animals were harmed in the making of this movie" type agency. So yeah, it's a bizarre exploit. In Las Vegas in particular, it's a hub because of the tourism, which also allows for these laws that give segue and leniency to breeding animals, because it's not just the casinos. We have Sequest. I think in Fort Lauderdale there was a Sequest that may have shut down. That's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Shut down. Yeah,
we have less laws. It's amazing. Yeah, Sequest here in Las Vegas is in the oldest strip mall, which is about 10 minutes away from the university, in the smack dab in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
And I could not tell you the horrors that have happened there the last 4 years. But that's exactly what happens when we, view animals as objects, and the culture that's cultivated around that.
Yeah. Yeah. Since we're on the, activist subject, and I know Reagan Russell, I know a lot of people don't know about her. I think most people in the vegan community knew who she was. I don't think it's funny when I go outside of my vegan realm, which isn't often. It's amazing how I always assume everybody knows who these people are, and it's kind of sad. Unfortunately, outside of our community, not a lot of these amazing activists, some like Reagan Russell, who've given up their life to do this, just don't get, the coverage, the publicity, tell me a little bit about her. I know you have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, of course. So I did not know Regan personally. I know friends who knew and loved her. She had been an activist for the last 3 decades. She was based in the Ontario, Hamilton, Toronto, Canada area. So she's a Canadian activist, but she, not just for the animals. One of her last protests was for Black Lives Matter. She was an advocate for those who need representation, using her voice, if you will, her privilege to advocate. She had been bearing witness with Toronto Pig Save for the past 4 years. And they bear witness at Fearman's Pork, a pig slaughterhouse in the Ontario, Canada area. So 2 days before Regan's death, a bill was passed in this area called Bill 156, similar to our ag-gag laws here in the States. And this bill essentially dictated that it was illegal to document, record anything at slaughterhouses, at farms within this area. It essentially criminalized it, resulting in fines, in jail time. It was essentially, it was a stifle any whistleblowers, essentially.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to a few Canadian activists within the Save movement who didn't think that it was going to pass, who remarked that even in the States, we do have some ag-gag states, of course, but in some states, these laws did not pass. So using that as a precedent, they thought, well, you know, we are more liberal than the U.S. is, so that should be the case. But unfortunately, and I wish they were right. But unfortunately, it passed 2 days before.
Yeah.
And I reference like Animal Justice, the Canadian animal legal group that is the one like in charge of like pushing to repeal this bill. They came out with an article after her death, which I will get to, that says that like this essentially allowed for open season on activists.
Yeah.
So they were bearing witness, as they had always, Toronto Pig Save on this particular day, according to all reports, of course. I was not there, so I speak from eyewitness accounts of what people have shared. And Regan Russell was not, the truck had not yet arrived. She was not giving water to pigs at that time. She was waiting. To my knowledge, she was not standing in the middle. She was not inviting anyone to hurt her. And a truck driver, who, you know, witnesses also say, like we saw Regan, hit her, struck her, and ran her over. Yep. And she, of course, she's gone. She did not survive that. And a couple months after the incident, the video, because it happened within like an intersection where there is, you know, video footage, has not been released by the Hamilton Police Department.
Yep.
And the driver was charged with something equivalent to like a moving violation, which Animal Justice says like they're usually not charged with anything, but because of this, it's something. But of course, it's still insulting. It's still clearly insulting because there was nothing actually done against anyone being charged in her death. And she died. She was killed on June 19th. So it's been almost half a year. And she's no longer trending. You know, the Save Movement and Animal Justice are still actively working on advocating on her behalf. There is a website that you can visit, justiceforreganrussell.org. But unfortunately, as you said, it did not receive the publicity that it should have. Right. And especially within like even like outside of the activist community, most people don't know about her. Her story did reach Democracy Now!, which is a rather large news outlet, but to my knowledge, other than that, it has not reached anything else. So as mentioned, Animal Justice, the Canadian legal animal defense group, is still actively working. So is the Save Movement. You can see I'm wearing a Regan Russell shirt. This was, this was something that we're trying to do here in Las Vegas locally. My friend Kendrick, he started a vegan streetwear activism brand called Quality Control. And he designed this, so it has her name. It has her birth date, 1955. She was in her 60s when she passed. She'd been advocating once again for the last 3 decades. And then this is the water sprayer that she would use, or a symbol of it, of course, with vegan stickers. And at the very bottom, you can see because I'm sitting down, it has a quote from her that says, "I'm trying. I don't know if it does any good, but I know that doing nothing does no good." So my friend Kendrick designed this, and he's making no money off of it. It's all proceeds going back to, I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. I always, anyone who organizes, I never cry at vigils, like it's some badge of honor. But, when we get into moments like this, there's always vulnerability. Quality control. Yeah. So he is not making any money off of this. 100% the proceeds are going back to either Animal Justice or All Friends Animal Sanctuary here in Las Vegas. And when you go to his website, you have the option of choosing between either one. So far we raised, I want to say, and Kendrick might correct me if he sees this later, $130 for All Friends, and I think $160 for Animal Justice. So we're still, oh yes, sorry.
No, what's the website? Is it the QLTYKNTRL one?
That's the one. That's the one.
Good. I wish it was easier for me to. But if you guys want to purchase a shirt for everybody that's watching, good morning, Elizabeth. Hey, Kim. Hi, Melissa. Let me see if we have any questions for you. Let's see. Do you know Melissa Park says hello? Elizabeth. Good morning, Elizabeth. Thanks for tuning in, sweetie. Kim Panzarella. You know Kim. T-shirt Kim. I call her T-shirt Kim. She's on our board. This is one of Kim's T-shirts. Love me, don't eat me.
I love it.
Yeah. So I know we have all the links for you posted with your bio. So anybody go to my Facebook, go to Camille's page, go to the Little Bear Sanctuary page, and you'll see all the links. If you want to buy a T-shirt, the links are there, and all the links for a lot of her personal pages or Instagram.
There's a few. Yeah.
So it's hard not to. I'm trying to think of a happier subject we can move to.
Let's see.
But I mean,
we covered the mental health and the rest of that.
Let's talk about supporting your local sanctuaries and supporting legitimate sanctuaries, and how you mentioned to me how animal activists should really work together with their local farm sanctuaries, if there are any, and I know a lot. It's in the animal community. I think that's abuse and fraud is rampant in the animal community. There's so many fake fundraisers. You've heard, I've heard. There's been so many nightmare stories about so many shady organizations. What kind of advice do you give? I know what I would say, but what resources are there for people who want to donate to these organizations, who want to support these organizations? Where can they go to make sure they're a nonprofit, to make sure they're on the up and up? What do you usually tell people?
Well, I give people a few different answers. If they are a registered 501c3 nonprofit, and they're doing what they should be doing, then you can check them on websites like GuideStar and Charity Navigator, which essentially gives ratings, depending on, because every 501c3 must submit their tax information, and it's supposed to track how much money they bring in. So that's one way that somebody perhaps can dissect what the, I guess you could say, skeletal system of a nonprofit is, because that only gives like one short one short insight, because it's just like on paper, like, okay, like everything can check out, maybe they get like 4 stars on these sites, but as far as
that just means they have a piece of paper, right?
Yeah, exactly. You were able to fill something out, because it's not right. A lot of people start nonprofits. So a lot, it's unfortunately not something that is like so rare obviously. So these are a couple sites, GuideStar and Charity Navigator, where you can check. And otherwise, it is doing some research on your own. It's, looking at this institution, this group, this organization, looking if it's a sanctuary, then they should have mission statements, goals. As far as finding out if it's a vegan sanctuary, you just have to research and recognize what their purpose and intention is. And it's in part, asking questions to them and asking around within your local community. So, trust the locals who are already involved and their opinions, and by all means get it from multiple people. So, I mean, if a sanctuary, in any way is profiting off the animals, if they, if they use them for entertainment anyway, if, they sell things that come from them, I, would very much doubt we could legitimately pass this as a vegan sanctuary. And I would not encourage anyone to support that. So it's doing some background research on your own, some detective work, because unfortunately that's what you have to do to verify if somebody is as legitimate as they're claiming or portraying themselves to be.
Right. Yeah. It's I always say definitely visit a sanctuary too if you have the opportunity and if they're local enough. Strangely, there are sanctuaries that are not vegan, which to me is mind blowing. I know a few in Florida. It's crazy, right? I don't even know how that exists on the same plane, but it
they
happens.
are there. They are.
They're there. Yeah. I know that you have a couple piggies, right?
We do.
Yeah.
We have Dudley and Vess.
Yeah.
They are 2 potbelly pigs. They're the current residents at Forget Me Not. Yeah. Only 2. We're a micro sanctuary. So, as mentioned, I am on the board, and I'm the social media and volunteer coordinator for All Friends, which is a larger sanctuary. We have more pigs, but only 2 here at Forget Me Not. 2 residents.
What was it like for you when you first got to experience having a pig around? It's very different than.
It's very different. Well, I met Dudley back in, I want to say 2017, because before I moved in as the live-in caretaker, I was the house sitter. So back then, for that year stretch or so, it was just Dudley. Before Vess came, and Dudley was Dudley and a few of the chickens. Dudley was rescued from one of the local kill shelters. We don't know his background, as is often with shelter rescues. Yeah. We do know that he probably wasn't socialized very well in his definitive years. He wasn't shown a lot of patience. Yeah. In fact, he probably, I don't want to assume that every single animal has this history of abuse and neglect, but he does not respond. He doesn't seem to respond well to positive touch or reinforcement, which, it's a balancing act of trying to still show him this affection and not stressing him out. Yeah. So I'd already known him, but his personality had changed when Vess came, because it's like he found this purpose. He loves this little pig. Oh. Vess is younger than him. Vess was rescued. Her mother was dumped at the local shelter, like a teen mom. She was pregnant with her and her siblings, and another local vegan sanctuary who is totally private, so they don't want anybody there. I understand. Yeah. They pulled her, and she had her babies at the sanctuary, and very small area. So Kiera, if you're watching this, hi Kiera, the founder of Forget Me Not, adopted Vess and brought her back when it was due time, and brought her back to be Dudley's friend. And honestly, just like with other individuals, it's learning their routines, learning their personalities, and the dynamics between their relationship, like their individual relationships with themselves and each other, to see where I can fit in to be the most supportive. Because too often I think that we, impose our human wants and needs. And, all of us do it because, we cannot do otherwise. We are humans. We impose our human wants and needs on them because, it's like you want to pet her belly. You want to, smush her cheeks. And it's like, they're so cute. Of course, you want to do that, but it's not what may be best for them. So it's really trying this ebb and flow of responding to what best supports them. So it was definitely a learning experience the first few months, but after learning these routines and seeing like where to back off and where to push further in some instances, it's been a journey, but I love it.
Yeah, they're pretty special. Their intelligence is quite remarkable. I don't think people realize. They're as smart as a 4-year-old. If you really think about that, in terms of a 4-year-old, it's pretty amazing. They just don't have the ability to move around like a 4-year-old. They're a little different, right? Belly rubs. Gosh, belly rubs. That's like the main thing here at Little Bear. I do. There's a huge difference between when we get a pig from somebody's house, as opposed to a pig from a shelter. The personalities are different. We have pigs that, they still walk away from me when they see me. And it's just about respecting them and their personalities. And they're not like dogs. And I think a lot of people equate everything to a dog for some reason. Right. I think
they're dog-like. Yeah, but that's their frame of reference. They're dog-like, but they're not. Yeah, they're not. They're dog-like, but they're not like dogs. If that makes sense. Like there's
exactly.
Yeah,
for sure. So as an activist, for kids watching, for anybody watching who's thinking about becoming an activist and wants to do that for a living, what kind of salary do activists get?
Who wants to be an activist for a living? I would ask you to have a backup plan.
Exactly.
For a long time, I said I did activism. I rejected titles because it was like this manifest destiny I think people seek out. They want to be involved, which I think is amazing. They want social support, which everyone deserves and needs.
Yeah, sure.
But this life is not. It's not an easy life. It's not a fun life. It's not a life for everyone. I think there's like this appeal because of social media. I think a lot of things on social media give this appearance of things that are not in actuality, which it's kind of a overall silly statement because we know that not everyone's on the beach 24/7, and but in the activist world, it's the same thing, and I think we fail to recognize that. I don't have a Patreon, but I believe that's how most activists do support themselves.
Sure.
It's through this crowdfunding. They provide the services, whether it's talks or what have you, and they're supported by, donors and individuals. I'm on a fellowship with the Save Movement, so I essentially am in like an HR type position, which I do enjoy. I went to school for sociology. My minor is human services. When I was in school, I was looking more for like direct approach counseling rather than writing more papers, which I wasn't going to go to grad school for sociology. I was going to focus more on the human services part. So essentially, like part of my job is supporting these local Save Movement organizers, whether it's conflict resolution or it's simply, just like someone to talk to and being like this conduit between them and the greater Save Movement. So it's, and in addition to coordinating the animal rescue working group, but nonetheless, it is, I don't live lavishly. My partner is a teacher. I can't speak on the experiences of perhaps more known animal activists and what they may be receiving in donations, because I'm sure there are people who live off it okay, but I don't think they're living in grandeur, even if they do get supporters from Patreon, is the thing. Yeah. I think that's how it also can be viewed. And it's if you don't, I encourage everyone to get involved with activism. But if you want to live off of it, you need to be willing to sacrifice a lot. Right. And to me, at this point, I don't view it as sacrifice. This is what I've chosen. This is what I've decided. This is what I love in the end. These animals are my life. I believe in these causes. I believe in supporting my fellow humans in other social causes as well, just to say.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't know what advice to give someone, Chris. I would say heavily do your research and have a
for sure.
Have a backup, because I mean, it's just what's the point
not
being
that people are running to be,
Some people might. It's this, once again, this delusion of something that it may not be.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's pretty rare. It's that pretty rare person who gets that Patreon support. It's definitely not the usual.
It's only a select few that.
Yeah, exactly. And it should be more. And I guess people can look into working for bigger organizations like PETA or Mercy for Animals or Save the Movement. I know there's definitely a lot of opportunities there for a lot of openings.
You're right. I went on like a tangent again, but the larger organizations, there are openings. I'm sure, just depending on what is available and who leaves. I would say that, I don't know how high turnover is, within these organizations, but research the large Mercy for Animals, PETA, and all these other organizations and see what they do offer to start. My situation's a little particular, but there are opportunities if you do seek them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Gosh, the hour is almost over. Can you believe it?
I've been looking at the time. I'm like, okay. I guess an hour does go by pretty quickly.
It did. So, last words of advice for somebody thinking about going vegan, or any documentary you can recommend, or any final thoughts for people watching today who might be looking to live a more compassionate life?
Well, a few things. I always believe in supporting local. Very much into supporting your local community, and I seek resources out within your local community. Start on social media. You might not, you might end up leaving like your local vegan group once you find where you best fit in the advocacy world, but start there. Just seek these resources out by doing research on social media, seeing who's already active within your community and reaching out to them. People reach out to me often, and I do my best to properly relay information to them. And once again, like in the place that you currently live, because there's also this like love of traveling and doing activism other places, which I also support and agree with, of course. But supporting where you live is of the utmost importance, because undoubtedly there is a lot of representation that is needed where you currently are. And so I would seek that out in addition to like the answer to like if people want to go vegan, seek out the local resources as well, because in addition to the advocacy or the activist groups, here in Vegas there are raw food meetup groups. There's even like food groups. I'm sure they're not as active now currently because of everything, but they do exist. Anybody who wants to go vegan, I would suggest once again doing your research, but recognizing that change is difficult, but it is needed, and you can do it. All of us I do not like being cliched, but all of us who have gone vegan, would say that we wish we would have gone vegan sooner, because having lived, I've been vegan for 7 years, and you've been vegan longer, having lived within this life, you recognize everything that you did not see before. So once again, it's seeking out these local resources, as well as resources like vegankit.com, or I really like Food Empowerment Project, which is foodispower.org, which also remarks on human exploitation within animal agriculture. So if you're trying to go vegan because of ethics, then by all means, there are plenty of resources to help convince you that you're making the right decision, and anyone will tell you that you are by this. So it's really just taking that first step and having, your arsenal of resources, look up recipes, reach out to people. You will be answered. Vegans are always happy to, talk your ear off about everything. I mean, look, it's over an hour and we're still talking, so.
Yeah, right. Camille, thank you for being on my show today. I hope you'll come back. We didn't cover as much as we wanted to, but thank you for sharing all that information. I really appreciate you coming on today. And thank you. I love you.
Chris, I love you. Yes, invite me back and we'll tackle the other 50 questions.
Yeah, let's do it for sure.
Awesome.
Thanks, Camille.
Thank you, Chris. Bye,
all right,
everybody.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in today, everybody. My guest next week is Carla Dumas of Yesican Sanctuary. She is a friend and a neighbor. She has a farm sanctuary here in Arcadia, and I'm excited to have her on next Friday. So look for the links. If you have any questions, you can email us at info@littlebearsanctuary.org if you have any questions. If you want to be on the show, if you want to see somebody on the show, send us an email. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see everybody next week. Love you guys.
Become a Goldylocks Productions VIP patron. Receive exclusive access to live stream special and other epic perks. Join the Goldylocks Productions VIP community today.